Welcome to the next episode of From the Abyss to Zoolander. And I just realized the other day that we never actually explained the name and what the whole meaning of From the Abyss to Zoolander is. So, about 4 or 5 years ago, when we used to decide we wanted to watch a movie, we used to spend probably 15 minutes
at least.
figuring out what we were going to watch. And, time is money. So we decided that we were just going to watch them from A to Z, A to Z. You Americans.
Yes, because otherwise I would be like, "What do you want to watch?" And I'd pick something, and he'd be like, "No, I'm not in the mood." And he'd be like, "Pick like 5 movies, and then I'll narrow it down from there." And it was just a whole debacle.
Yeah. So we decided to go one by one, A to Z, and to make things more interesting, we decided to set up our own blog and do reviews of those movies as well. So we actually ended up getting up to N.
Nearly. National Treasure.
We did National Treasure was the last proper one we did.
Yeah. Then we did some ad hoc ones afterwards.
Yeah. So even though we've only got up to N, there's still like 600 reviews on there. So BS Movie Review, check that out if you want some good review material.
Some of it's good.
Yeah.
Some of it's okay.
Yeah. But we did have fun, and now we've moved on to podcasts, which is a lot of fun. So today we are talking about X-Men: The Last Stand because Dark Phoenix comes out later on this week, and in preparation for that, we decided to watch some of the old X-Men films. And Last Stand, I figured Last Stand would be the best one to talk about because Dark Phoenix is almost a remake of that film, or they're kind of redoing the same story from the comic. So this is a good one to talk about. So, first thoughts on X-Men 3, Last Stand. What did you think, Sally?
Me. So oddly enough, this is like the one I remember the best. Although the entire time I was watching it, I was like, where is Nightcrawler? And then Ben was like, no, that's the second one. And then I literally could remember nothing from the first one, which I think those two are the ones that people generally like the most, like before the recent iterations, or no?
The first one, I remember at the time thinking it was good, but after watching it again, it has not aged well. X-Men 2 I still really like. I think that's a really good film. But for me, the X-Men comics, that's what I grew up reading.
Yes,
so there I have a lot more. I give the other Marvel films, the other DC films, I give them a lot more leeway. But the X-Men films, they needed to get them right. And even now, some of them have been good, but they still haven't got the X-Men films right.
Yes.
And I can't wait for them to go back to Marvel so that maybe they can. Because Fox don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, so what exactly is your background? Maybe we could both talk about our background with the X-Men, because I think we both have very different backgrounds with them.
I was reading comics for a long time. Mostly the 90s X-Men when Jim Lee was an artist. That was where I got introduced to it. And then in 1992, there was the animated series that was basically based on mostly the Jim Lee era as well. And love that animated series. Came out around the same time as Batman, the animated series. I think they even premiered on the same day. I remember watching them Saturday mornings growing up in America, and just love that cartoon. It captured the comic so well, and that's one of the other things that's so frustrating about these films is that animated series was able to do it, but these films just haven't. I understand some of the decisions that they've made, but for the majority of it, I just don't know what they're doing. Particularly with Wolverine. He's my biggest problem.
Yes, I know you're always just like,
I know.
Wolverine. I hate Hugh Jackman as Wolverine.
I don't hate Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. I just think he is miscast. I don't think he's...
Okay.
Wolverine is meant to be 5 foot. So there is that love triangle between Jean Grey, Cyclops, and Wolverine, but when you're looking at the three of them, it's almost laughable that Jean Grey would go with Wolverine, because he looks like an animal.
Yeah, so this was my problem with this movie, like when she's like coming on to him when she wakes up and she's Phoenix, she's all sexy, and I'm like, you're telling me that this should be some gross dude.
Yeah.
And she's like into him somewhat. Like, I'm sorry, I'm glad that they cast someone
Well,
good looking.
But that doesn't happen in the Jean Grey and him never really hook up.
Oh, but clearly they were like, here's two beautiful people, let's have them kiss.
Yeah, but that's why it's so ridiculous, because that of course if Wolverine looked like Hugh Jackman, Jean Grey would go with him.
But not over Cyclops. I think he's better looking. Like, just on a face value. So here we go. So maybe I should explain my background with the X-Men.
Sure, you go.
So, literally, the first time I was introduced to the X-Men was when I saw the first movie. I did not watch the cartoon. I don't know why, because it's not like, because I have a sister, so it's not like, it wasn't for girls, because we love, like, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and we loved the old, like, 60s Batman. So I don't know, like, I just don't know how we missed in the entirety of this cartoon run.
It was on Fox, that's why.
Oh, yeah, we didn't have Fox. There you go, that answers that question.
Sally grew up in a country town that was still living in the 70s, I think.
we did not get The Simpsons until it was syndicated on, like, the local ABC affiliate or something, and that was, like, a few months before we moved to California.
Yeah.
So completely missed the cartoon. I was never into those types of comic books as a kid. Like, I liked Archie and, that sort of stuff, Richie Rich. Very wholesome, sweet little comic books.
Casper the Friendly Ghost?
Yes, I had Casper the Friendly Ghost. So for me, like, literally, it was seeing these movies in the theater at the time. I think the only reason I maybe went to the first one, what year did it come out?
The first one came out in 2000, I think.
Okay, so I was in high school, and maybe I was dating a guy that was super into comic books at the time, and I would assume that maybe I went with him. Ironically, his favorite comic book person was Captain America. I had no idea who that was at the time, and now that's my favorite. So it's just one of those funny things. So it's basically seeing these movies in the theater, and then I dated a guy in college that also really loved the X-Men. He actually bought this video game that he played on my PlayStation 2, and then not let me play around with him. Not let me play along.
He sounds like a jerk. I'm glad you broke up with him.
A little bit. It looked like a cool video game. So it's literally just these movies. So for me, I'm just like, yeah, sure, some of it works. But I have no history with them. I'm usually just watching it and being like, this really doesn't make sense on a scientific level, because I'm just one of those people. But I still find them very enjoyable, very fun, although I'm definitely liking the newer ones a lot better. I think it's correcting a lot of the things that kind of was weird to me watching these first ones. But this third one, I'm just, we were watching it the other day, I'm just like, I don't know why I remember it so well, because it's clearly one of the worst, comic iterations I've ever seen.
It's actually really interesting, because X-Men 2 was really good. I don't remember. You don't remember.
And I like those. And the parts I remember, like Nightcrawler, that was awesome. And when he's in the Oval Office and attacking the president or whatever, I have little flashes I remember from that one. I need to rewatch that one.
And so Bryan Singer directed that one, and he was also to do X-Men 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got an offer to make the Superman film with Brandon Routh.
Oh, that one.
And he decided, because Superman was his favourite, so he decided, I'm going to bail on X-Men 3, I'm going to do this Superman film, because I won't ever get another opportunity.
Which is fair enough.
Well, you say that now, but Superman Returns didn't really do very well, and this clearly didn't benefit from his departure, because it was a very last-minute thing. They had to pull Brett Ratner in, who had made Rush Hour.
Yeah, I was going to ask him, I know that name.
And
yeah, okay.
And it's interesting that both of them have been involved in the Me Too movement for negative reasons.
Yeah.
So
not positive ones.
I'm sure that's just a coincidence. That has nothing to do with the quality of their X-Men film.
I'm sure you pull basically any director or producer from the last 20 years, and you're going to hit gold.
So Brett Ratner was pulled in because the studio had worked with him before, and they knew that he could work to a really strict deadline, which this movie obviously had, because they had release dates all set up for it, and because Bryan Singer pulled out at the last minute, they really didn't have enough time to play. They didn't have time to do that. So Brett Ratner comes in, and the whole idea so at the end of X-Men 2, Jean Grey dies, and then
Or does she?
and then the whole thing is the Phoenix. They're trying to adapt the Phoenix Saga, and as a reader of these comics, they could not have done a worse job. There are things that happen in this movie that just make no sense. I really feel for Cyclops as a character, because he is in the comics he is their leader, whereas in the movies it's Wolverine, and that just doesn't sit well with me. Wolverine was never their leader. I mean, later on he kind of adapts. He kind of comes into that role. But that was way after these movies came out, and I think they adapted the character of Wolverine to be a little bit more like Hugh Jackman is in the movies. He was never like that prior to the movies. He was always a loner, and the only people that he really liked were young teenage girls, and he kind of mentored them, took them under his wing, and that's where the rogue relationship comes in the movies.
And that makes sense, because there's a little bit in one of the Ms. Marvel comics that I've read where she meets up with him, and he's kind of reluctant, but like you can tell he's like helping her out, and yeah.
So he kind of mentored Shadowcat in comics, and Jubilee is a big one.
Jubilee's my favorite, just because Ben thinks she sucks.
I don't think she sucks. Later on, she becomes a vampire, so that's interesting.
Maybe I should read these.
I have them all. So, onto The Last Stand adaptation of the Dark Phoenix saga. They've also tried to adapt the comic of Gifted, which is the whole thing about the mutant cure, and that was actually written by Joss Whedon. The comic book.
I did like that little subplot, not really subplot, it's main plot.
Yeah.
I really liked that. I thought that was well done, especially that they kind of identify, like, Rogue as being the one that, like, she really wants the cure. And when I was watching it, I'm like, yeah, she, like, I think literally has the worst end of the deal. Like, you could say, like, maybe, like, Beast or, whomever that has, like, facially and, like, body, like, they look different, and you think that they would want it. But I'm like, no, like, you would maybe find someone who would still love you despite that. Yeah. But, like, literally she cannot touch anybody. And that's just such, like, a big part of the human experience. So, like, yeah, like, she's got the worst power for she could blend in, but not really. So, I really liked that.
I think it's interesting to think about, because X-Men is so ingrained in civil rights.
Yes, yeah.
And when I think about that cure, I think, what if in the 60s they found some magic potion that turned black people white?
Well, even now they're always looking for, like,
what
are the genetics for... Yeah, are you gay? Is it genetic? Could we change it? Could you make you straight? Like,
and I just feel like, what would be the reaction to that? And I think it would be...
Oh, there'd be those people protesting.
There would definitely be people protesting, but there would also be those people, I think, that would be like, I wish I wasn't gay.
This would just make my life so much easier.
Yeah.
My parents would accept me. I wouldn't have to deal with all the negativity from people. Like, there would be people in their mind that would think this will cure all of my problems. Yeah. But I don't think it would.
Oh, no, I don't think it would either.
Yeah.
But I see that comparison between real life events and this movie.
Yeah, that was definitely something, like, I remember too from the earlier ones. Like, I think it's Aceman, like, his parents literally are like, have you tried not being a mutant? Like, it was very clearly, like, they definitely, like, brought it into contemporary times of, like, this is gay people.
Well, Bryan Singer is gay, so
he
that's one of the reasons why he wanted to make these films originally, is because there was so much overlap between what he faced growing up, and the original idea of the X-Men was supposed to be based around civil rights and black people when it came out in the 60s. But listening to us talk about this film, you'd think we really liked it.
I know. I liked ideas.
We did not like it.
I liked ideas. So one of the other things that came out, like, I remember when this movie came out, and I'd seen, like, the first commercials and trailers, and Kelsey Grammer is Beast, and I was just like, what the fuck is Fraser Crane doing in a superhero movie? This was long before it was, like, cool to be in one, like, before we had these, like, Oscar winners and nominees being in comic book movies. And that, I was just like, oh, what the hell? And I remember my friend who, she had grown up watching the cartoon, she's like, oh no, he's perfect because Beast is like a gentleman. And I was like, what? Like, and I didn't get it. And like, now I'm just like, yeah, I guess I do. But again, like, not having that strong, like, background in the whole story, I'm still kind of like, that is Frasier.
Well, it was funny because there's a part in the movie when he goes, "Oh, my stars and garters," and like you laughed, you were like, "Oh, that's so Frasier." I'm like, that's what Beast says in the comic. That's one of his lines.
But I can picture that, like, on one of the episodes. If he doesn't say that on one of the episodes, like the 11 seasons or whatever of that show, I would be surprised. The whole time, I'm just like, he's gonna offer someone a sherry when they walk in the room, like.
Yeah. So, things we didn't like. I didn't like that Cyclops got screwed.
He's such a drip.
I know.
And he's not, I know he's not supposed to be, and I feel bad. Like.
But because he's played, do you think it's because he's played by Unlucky in Love James Marsden? Or is there something else going on with the character?
Yeah, I would be interested to see, like, to know, like, what the plan they had for these stories. Like, obviously, I don't think that was an overarching plan. I think it was one movie at a time type of thing.
It's really annoying because the reason this happened to Cyclops is because James Marsden had signed on to be in Bryan Singer's Superman film.
Oh, that's right. He was the reporter Lois Lane's.
He's Unlucky in Love James Marsden in Superman. And I just feel like that character got screwed over because in the cartoon, and it goes back to the cartoon a little bit, because in the cartoon they kind of do make Cyclops to be like this stiff guy, you know, don't break the rules.
Yeah, he's supposed to be like a Boy Scout.
He's a Boy Scout. And the comic version of Cyclops is not like that at all. He is their leader. He is willing to make decisions that no one else would.
Does he bend the rules if he has to?
Yes, he creates X-Force.
What's that?
It's basically a team of Black Ops mutants that go and murder people when they...
Deadpool comes in?
Deadpool's in it, Wolverine's in it, Psylocke's in it. I wish they'd make that movie.
Was this what they were kind of setting up in that first Wolverine spin-off?
Yeah,
okay.
Deadpool 2 kind of almost sets it up as well, a little bit.
Oh, yeah, okay.
There's Cable's in it too.
But sets it up better.
Yeah. So, yeah, Cyclops. I feel really bad about how his character got swept under the carpet. And from what I'm reading, it sounds like that was always going to happen, but I don't really believe that. I think it has it has more to do with the fact that he ditched them to go to Bryan Singer's movie than any sort of character development.
Yeah, because from the first movie, like, he's just kind of bland, like, very little personality, like, it's definitely, like...
And that's one of the reasons why Hugh Jackman shouldn't look the way he does. Because you look at that Cyclops character, and you look at the Hugh Jackman character, and you look at Jean Grey and you say, how are you with Cyclops?
No, he's good looking, but they don't give him any charisma.
He has no personality at all.
Yeah,
and that's super annoying. And...
Because Hugh Jackman has, like, all the personality.
Yes.
Like, he usually does. Like, he's not in a lot of great movies, but he's always definitely, like, one of the best things in the movies he's in.
Yes. So I feel bad about that. I feel bad that Professor X died.
Which,
spoiler alert,
also doesn't tee up with what happens in Days of Future Past.
Well, apparently, like, there is a post-credit scene in this movie where Professor X comes into the body of someone else.
But then he shouldn't look like
he shouldn't look like Patrick Stewart. So there's all kinds of question marks around this movie. And
can I say too, watching this, you get such a clear sense of how far we have come with CGI just from that first scene where they have de-aged Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen. I remember seeing that in theater and being like, oh my god, this is amazing. Oh, that looks like young. It's Picard. And now I'm watching it, I'm like, oh man, they've done, like, such better work in, like, all the Marvel movies, like, blanking on anyone's name, but they've done...
Michael Douglas.
Yeah, it's Michael Douglas and Agent Carter, when they actually age her up. They've done such better work. Like...
Oh, Robert Downey Jr.
Robert Downey Jr. There's someone else. Did they do it with Michelle Pfeiffer a little bit? It would be brief.
Yeah, no, it might be a few shots, but not really.
Yeah. But yeah, quite a few of them where I'm like, oh, this is so good. Although now I'm like worrying. I'm like, oh, in like 10, 15 years, I'm going to watch those and be like, this is shit.
Well, they did. The last Pirates of the Caribbean also de-aged Johnny Depp, and that looked really good too.
I don't think I saw that one. Or I have no memory of it.
We did. We saw it in the movie. But yeah, it was very forgettable.
Okay. Take your word for it.
So, X-Men Last Stand, didn't really like it. I thought they ruined a lot of characters, and they tried to correct it with Days of Future Past that came out a few years later, but this movie still left a pretty bad taste in my mouth. mostly because as a comic reader, it's so easy. You know, these movies are already scripted for you. They're already actually storyboarded for you. All you need to do is make them. And
yeah, but I mean that's just so much harder than you'd think.
No, I get it, but half their job is done for them.
Yeah, that's true.
So I will give them a little bit of leeway, but this movie takes too much. I would give it probably C- if I was going to rank it.
Oh, I have to grade it?
Yeah, I realized we weren't doing that.
I don't know. What would I compare it to? Yeah, I could probably give it a C or so. I mean, probably it's getting points because it's literally the only one of these ones that I remember for some strange reason. I don't know, like if I've just seen it like more times or I do not know. I literally have like only fleeting memories of scenes from the other two, which are like better movies.
Are you excited for the new one?
Yeah, so we actually just watched what was Apocalypse? You fell asleep. I watched it though.
I've seen it before.
You've seen it before, but you fell asleep when we were watching it on DVD the other day. Because I mean I didn't love that one either, but I do love those new movies. I thought First Class and Days of Future Past were so good. Like I genuinely loved both of those. Apocalypse I was not crazy about.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, but the thing I did like about Apocalypse was the stuff at the school. I liked I liked Sansa Stark as Jean Grey, and I liked Ready Player One as Cyclops. I thought they were good together, and that combination is enough. It's enough to get me a little bit excited about this film. Again, no X-Men film has met my expectations, and I expect this one probably won't either. But those two characters were done really well, and I can see enough there that I'm excited to see more.
Yeah.
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 All right.
I have no other thoughts. Oh, except for what's his name? The angel, the guy with the wings.
What about him?
The actor.
Oh, the guy from Bohemian Rhapsody, or Ben Foster.
Ben Foster, because I used to watch him on this old Canadian TV show called Flash Forward when he was like very young. And so I just, every time I watch, and maybe that's why I remember this movie so much, because every time I see him, I'm just like, oh my god. So that's my little childhood thing. Not the actual X-Men, just the random actors.
My first experience with Ben Foster was Get Over It.
Oh yeah, we watched that.
I watched it on a plane. And don't watch movies on planes, people. And definitely don't think that you like movies on planes, because I thought Get Over It was great enough for me to go and buy it, and it's not that good. The only good part is Martin Short as the play director,
the drama teacher.
He is an underrated gem of a man, and that's all I have to say about Ben Foster. Okay, so stay tuned for the next episode. We might do a Dark Phoenix review. If not, we'll definitely do a Men in Black review.
Men in Black. Also, we might do another older movie.
We should do Men in Black 3.
Well, yeah, but I was thinking there's like an anniversary of When Harry Met Sally coming up. That movie's quite old now, but still great. So maybe we could talk about that and maybe some of the other like rom-coms that have come out recently, some stuff on Netflix.
Yeah, cool.
Little Crazy Rich Asians. Just something a little different.
Yes, even though everyone hates Constance Wu now.
No, still love her. Be as bitchy as you want. All right, that's it.
Okay.
Rate and review. Follow us.
Yeah. Like, subscribe, comment.
Yes.
Do all the things.
Peace.